Right, that should be me live. Hello people. Hello. Make sure I'm in frame here. Hello guys, and welcome to SmallFry Unified with me, Sean Paul Johnston, for a brand new daily fix. Guys, I missed it yesterday because I came back from work. I've been riding the motorbike, as you guys know. I got a new motorbike, you guys who watch anyway, and I've been quite tired with the bike. It's knackering. It's been a long time since I had a motorbike, so I'm a little bit unused to it. Got the helmet here, guys. It's looking cool. I'll show you the bike afterwards, actually. I'll get some pictures for it and stuff. I've got some pictures, I think, on Instagram. But anyway, I've got a couple of cool gaming-related things. They're kind of not specifically gaming. They could be other things, but it's more virtual reality information that I think is pretty cool stuff. This is stuff that's upcoming. It's stuff that's in prototype stages, and we're probably going to see this in the near future. Now, there is other things I want to go into more in relation to VR and augmented reality down the line. So I'm going to kind of focus on these things a little bit more as we go on with the daily fix, just because they're up and coming and things are getting pretty like extensive now with VR and AR, especially with Apple in the scene and stuff with their AR kit. But anyway, the two stories that I've got for you guys today. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to everyone. I've got a thing for a shout out afterwards. I'm going to do it now though. Just want to give a shout out to Jeff Brandon, Brian Costello, V to the Heart, Rosie Hoodie, Jamie Love, Liam Thing, and anyone else who sent my message whilst I was away up north or before I went away up north to do the West Highland Way. Those of you who wish me a happy birthday and an enjoyable trip. Thanks for that, guys. It was really appreciated and stuff like that. I tried to get back to some of you whilst I was up north, but it's kind of difficult with connections, as you know. But anyway, that's my back here, back in the studio. So let's get on with this one. The first story I want to tell you about. Now, both of these stories, I actually saw them through Tested. So if you know who Adam Savage is, he does like Tested, he does like Mythbusters and everything. They've got a show on YouTube and they've got a website. It's called Tested, and they do stuff with, they've got a show called, I think it's Prototype or Projections, and Norm and someone else, I can't remember what the guy's name is. They do stuff and they talk about VR all the time. They get to go to all the big events, get hands on with stuff because obviously they're massive. So it's really good to get information from them about VR and augmented reality. And this is where the two stories are coming from. So I'm just going to relaying them to you. I'll put the links in the description for both stories. You can go and check out yourselves and get much more information. But I'm just going to touch upon some of the actual highlights of these two products. They look really cool, by the way. The first one is a product called the Dexmo VR Haptic Exoskeleton. So just even the name sounds cool. Dexmo. So I presume that means dexterity, because you'll understand why in a second. The Dexmo VR Haptic Exoskeleton. So yeah, exoskeletons, if you know what they are, you know, you get exoskeletons for full bodies, and it allows you to be more powerful and maneuverable and all that kind of stuff. Well, this one here, it's actually a hand. It's a glove essentially, or a hand exoskeleton, and they've designed this so it gives you haptic feedback, so you can feel objects within whatever bit of software. So obviously in games you'll be able to do this as well. So if you pick up a gun, for instance, you'll be able to squeeze your hand and you'll be able to feel the actual object. Now, watching the video, the guy was talking about, it's like objects about that size, so anything bigger than that, from about 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters squared, then you'll be able to feel it and you'll be able to distinguish what that shape is. Now, it isn't quite fully there yet, in the sense that you can't feel textures or know that maybe a plastic or a wood, the difference between that. But it's more about the shape and getting that force feedback and sensitivity in that sense. So I'll just tell you some of the actual like features of the glove itself. The head of the company, it was a guy called, I'll make sure I've got his name right here, Dexter Robotics, CEO Zhaiqi Gu. It's obviously a Chinese name, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I know XIAO is Shang. So I'll presume it's Zhaiqi Zhu. If I'm close, let me know in the comments. Anyway, it's got variable stiffness force feedback. It captures 11 degrees of user's hand motion. Now, from the video, what I was saying was, they tested it with 10 motors, and they had motors on each of the fingers at the knuckle area here and one on the thumb, and they also had them further up in the finger on each finger. But what they found is it made the glove too heavy, so they thought the diminishing returns of adding that extra weight for a little bit more you got from the sensitivity wasn't really worth it. So they just put it back to the 5 motors. So you've got 5 motors that can feel the movement in that direction, but they can also feel 11 degrees of motion with spreading your fingers in that direction. So you've got quite a lot of range there in the hand, and from the test they've been doing, the people have found it pretty impressive. And tested when they were looking at it as well, he said it was really quite cool. So that was really interesting. Now, it does also work with Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, PlayStation VR, HoloLens, basically any AR or virtual reality system. And it's more about if you code your software to work with that, you can do it, and it's pretty fine. There's no info on price or release date. It looks like the glove's kind of pretty much ready to go. It is a prototype as far as I'm aware. Only thing I'd say is, when you look at the glove, if you go and check it, on the fingers, it's got like big plastic bits that come up your fingers, and they're quite high, about that high. So you've got them in each hand. It looks like you've got a big claw. So it looks cool in some sense, but at the same time, what I worry about is games where you're playing VR, where you may be putting your hands close to each other. You know, those bits are going to get banged or caught, and they might snap off or break or something. They're also using Vive's module, the ones that can sense like other movements. You know, the one they brought out was the extra thing for Vive, but you can add them to your legs and your wrists and everything. So I think that's how they're tracking the actual depth perception and stuff like that, so you can use it for that. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can incorporate more of that tech instead of using these Vive adapters, and see if they can use that without that, maybe build it into the glove itself, as long as it doesn't go too heavy. Really, really cool though. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. Let me know if you check out what you think of it as well, guys. The second thing I want to tell you about was, again, tested, went and checked out, it was LG's SteamVR Headset Prototype. Now, this one here, when you look at it, it's like, I wasn't really that impressed with it to begin with, but, you know, it's got potential. The only thing that really kind of bugs me is it's very similar to the HTC Vive, and it is a Steam headset, so Valve's worked in it as well. And, you know, apart from a couple of changes, a couple of big changes, mind you, it's very similar. And it'd be nice to see some companies maybe innovating a little bit more. So, I'll explain what I mean by that. The headset itself is probably the biggest change. Is it's now incorporated, instead of like the HTC Vive where you stick it on and people have complained it's a little bit heavy and it gets a little bit tiring on your head. And the same with the Rift. The Rift is a little bit more comfortable. It's probably a bit more comfortable than the Vive. But I think people generally who have tried the PlayStation VR, they say that's probably the best VR headset for comfort-wise. I thought it was next to me there. But that's probably the best for comfort-wise. Now, Lindsay, could you just do me a favour? I'll see if Lindsay can pass me this just now just to get the headset over. Now, with the PlayStation VR, the way it attaches to your back head, I'm just going to get the headset. Can you pass the headset that's in that box, Lindsay? It should be in there. I don't think it's got any cables attached apart from the normal ones. Yeah, so if you guys know, like, sorry, bang's going on. You guys know how the headset's attached with the Rift and the Vive, if you've seen them. Well, the difference with this one here is, like the PlayStation VR, it's now got a bit very similar to this at the back. You can adjust it with the dial. It's got that, it's almost identical. It's also got the bit that rests on your forehead, so that's identical almost as well. So take this whole section here, it's virtually identical. The only difference is, where the headset rests is on another pivoted piece of material that kind of lies up and goes across your head like this, the band, and it comes down and attaches to the headset. But what it allows you to do, it allows you to pivot the actual head mount, this part here, the display, it allows you to pivot up 90 degrees. So you can be wearing a headset and you can have that on, and you can still pull it in and out, so you can still do this. They've virtually copied the PlayStation VR, but they've just tweaked it slightly. So you can still pull this in and out, but at this point, you can then lift it up, so it would rotate up there. That bit would be lying normal, obviously. And then you can look and you can see where you're going. So, you know, that's one of the biggest advantages, I think, coming from this headset is when you're wearing even this one here, you're always putting on and then lifting it up on top of your head like that sort of kind of thing. Then, you know, your hair gets in the way, it touches the lenses, you get sweat in them and stuff, so it's a little bit awkward, and then try to readjust it. So this one here, you know, you've got the headset on, it's all nice and comfy, you can lift it up like this, now you can just pull it down and then slide it back into your eyes. So that's probably the best thing about the headset. They have also changed the Vive controllers. Now, this is apparently the Viper design. I think that's just based on the shape of it, how it comes up, and it's got like a sort of Viper head like that. So they've copied that design. It's virtually identical. What they have changed is it looks more angular now, so maybe they think it looks a bit sharper or something. But the big main difference is on the controller now, where you had the touchpad, the haptic pad, where the menu button or the select button was below that before, they've moved that above because they found people were touching it when they were trying to use the control pad. And instead of having one single customizable button, they've now got two. So you've got the haptic pad in the circle, and you've got two buttons, one either side, and then the select button in between. So that's probably the biggest differences. And, you know, obviously having an extra button and moving them so they're a little bit more convenient, that's great. I think the Vive controllers, I'd have a shot of them when I was in Atlanta. I thought they were awesome. They're pretty cool. They're big, but they're cool. Not quite as good as the Oculus Touch ones and some of the other ones coming from Vive as well. But I'm sure they'll probably change them as time goes by. But for now, you know, the work, they're good. They're very good for the tracking as well with the light field technology. The other thing is, it has got USB Type-C, so it's got a single cable. So it's got a single cable like this, and it's probably about, I think it's about a meter, they said. Instead of having it split into two like the PlayStation VR, it's just a single cable where you connect a USB-C adapter. So, you know, that's quite good. It could be a breakaway cable, which is a bit safer, so people banging into the cables whilst we're still tethered. The other thing is, it's got a headphone port on the headset. So up here, I think it's got a headset port on the wee side part, but they've not got integrated sound. But I think the whole point of this prototype is they're using this at press events to see what people want. And I think a lot of people are saying they kind of want integrated headsets or something similar. So you might get something like a Mantis VR type design where you can clip them on and take them off. But you know, as long as they keep that tidy, I think having that USB-C cable, the single cable, that's probably what's quite cool. You start adding other cables, and you know, I've done it with this one here with the PlayStation VR. You get a cable going down, and it's like starts tangling up, gets caught in your arm. It's just a pain in the ass. So hopefully they're not going to go that route. The screens. Now the screens are a horizontal design, so I think it's different. I think the other ones use a vertical screen. This one uses a horizontal screen. There's two of them, two OLED screens. And the maximum display area you're getting is 2880 by 1280. So it's a nice resolution. It's a little bit higher than what you're getting just now in the Vive and Oculus Rift, as far as I'm aware. So apparently it's pretty good. And the lenses as well, from what they were saying, from what Norman that was saying in the video, was they don't think it's Fresnel lenses. I think they've tried both types of lenses and they're not sure which one they're going with yet. They wouldn't allow them to film the lens, so it's unsure. But they said they couldn't see the ridges on the lenses. So maybe it's a new type of lens or technology, or maybe it's just they're using the original type of lenses, normal lenses. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, with that, it's got about 110 to 120 degree field of view. So really, really cool stuff. I think both of these bits of tech, you know, it's good to see other companies, LG, coming into the fray. You know, they're obviously famous for their TVs and that kind of stuff. So, you know, hopefully they'll have something that's pretty good. And the fact that it uses Steam, it's using the same as the Vive. You know, I think we're starting to maybe get to a point where we're getting multiple headsets for the same service. And I think this is something we've talked about as console gamers for a long time, was, you know, having a console that was just accessing a service. So instead of having Xbox with its own exclusive content, PlayStation with its own exclusive content, all that content would be in a single place, but you just choose the device you want to do, like a camera, like a DVD player or whatever. Loads of people have talked about this, loads and stuff. So that's really cool. If we're starting to get headsets like that, and as long as they keep pushing the tech, like I said at the start, I think the fact that they've got the design looking very similar, even though they fixed that headset bit, I would have liked to have seen them maybe come up with a better controller. Why they've not come up with something like the Oculus Rift, the touch controllers for this headset, that would have been a perfect merging. It's like they've done one thing and they've fixed one problem, and then they went back to an old version for the controllers, which seems a bit weird. Maybe it's a prototype one, so maybe they'll have better controllers going down the line. Maybe these are just temp ones so they can show the device off. But if they came out with that headset with a swivel design, and they came out with something like a touch controller, that would be really, really cool. And then down the line, we'll start getting into like tetherless headsets and stuff. So yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about that. What are you excited about VR? I'm excited about some cool stuff. I've possibly got some stuff coming up, which I'll let you guys know about over the next few days, over the next few weeks, or whatever. about some stuff I'm going to do talks-wise with people about augmented reality and virtual reality. You guys know I've done some stuff with PlayStation VR Frank. Congrats to PlayStation VR Frank if he checks this out, by the way. He's went full-time on YouTube now. His channel's going really well, so good job, guys. But yeah, you know I'm into the VR stuff. I've been into it from the very start. I've been into it for about 25 years now. So I love all that tech. And I've been following it closely, see what's changing in the market, see what's coming up. You know, I'm really into the idea of like tech in the future with augmented reality and VR, where you're not even using devices, how it connects with neural reality is what it's called, or what they're terming it, coining the term. So I'm interested in all that kind of stuff. But I think obviously we're going through the phase now of the head-mounted displays and people getting used to that. Phones with augmented reality, like that Asus, whatever it's called, the VR phone, whatever it was called anyway, the one that's got the Google Tango and Google Daydream technologies. So I'm excited by all this. This is all coming. I think we're probably going to have that for the next 5 to 10 years at least, whilst they refine that technology and get it tetherless and stuff and get it cheap enough for the mass market or mass consumer. And then we'll start to see things coming in with super high definition displays. And then we'll start getting things where it's wireless, fully wireless. We've got devices that are like gloves that you can feel all like that Dexmo haptic controllers, you know, so we'll start getting more and more stuff like that. But yeah, really excited about it. But maybe some talks coming up where it's going to be a podcast or a live video, or whether we're going to do something over Skype, because one of the persons in America, so I need to arrange something regarding that. But let me know what you guys would like me to talk about. Is there things you'd like me to focus on AR, VR? Would you like me to do something like that, more lengthy talks where we're going into more detail? Because obviously with a daily fix, this is like a 5-10 minute thing. But I can maybe go and do something that's separate, but it's still part of this discussion. It's just a separate little side thing that we can add these into. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. Give me a like, a thumbs up, share it around. By the way, one of the things I want to tell you guys is, you know, if you want to donate to the channel, awesome, great, we're on Patreon. Want to do all that jazz, that's amazing. I'm not expecting anything from you guys at all. What would be amazing from you guys is, if you're liking the content, share it around, pass it on to friends that you think will be interested in watching this, who are interested in VR, gaming, consoles, whatever. Pass it around, share it around, leave a comment. That's one of the biggest things as well. Leave a comment so I can talk to you in the comments. You guys know Jiv and all that stuff, Brandon and everything. I jump in the comments as much as I can. Obviously, if things get busy, it'll be a little bit difficult, but I do try and like get on as much as I can and respond to your comments pretty quickly. I give you all a big thumbs up as well for leaving a comment. So let's get discussions going in there and get people in and stuff like that. It'd be quite cool. Because the idea is to build this up, to get a really cool community where we're talking about stuff, and I'm getting your sort of discussions on VR, AR, consoles, because I've got my ideas and my opinions. Some of you guys will agree with it, some of you won't. But you know, it'd be good to get that feedback going back and forward and get discussions going and do it on the channel and maybe get more and more people involved. So that's it for this one, guys. I'm going to be getting the podcast sorted. We recorded it on Sunday. I'm not involved in it again because I was waiting for this mic, which is now returned. Looks like it's working fine, so that's cool. But I'll get the podcast up in the next day, so check that out on the channel as well. YouTube, I'll put some stuff up on Facebook about it, and I will catch you guys tomorrow in the next Daily Fix. Remember, we're all just a bunch of small fries trying to create big things. Thank you for watching.